Open world games.
I've got kids! Really? No, really!
You love them, I love them, but it feels like a lot of these open world games just get boring after a while. Like, how many Ubisoft games have you played where you climb radio towers, or Assassin's Creed games where you just climb on the top of the building and synchronize? How many times have you done that? And Ubisoft's not the only culprit. A lot of these open world games do similar things. Luckily for y'all, I got the cheat code on how to make an open world game continuously fun. Now, if these devs mess up the next open world game, that means they just didn't study for the test. I also kind of want to show why a lot of these open world games are just kind of falling off after you reach a certain point, but this is kind of the first thing that I think of when I'm trying to make a fun and immersive open world game. Step one, you gotta make the world feel lived in. It has to be just downright jaw-dropping. If I can't turn off the HUD and just walk around and be in awe of what you made and crafted, then I don't know, it kind of immediately takes me out of the experience. You gotta have NPCs walking around, living their day-to-day lives, going to sleep, having a sleep schedule, just doing shit. They can't just be standing around. Like, you know how in MMOs, NPCs or quest givers would just stand there and basically just wait for you to interact with them. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's bad. That's wrong. don't do that, bro. Because if you do that, I feel like it's gonna ruin the immersion. Like, imagine in real life if you see somebody like walking on the sidewalk, not even walking, they're standing there on the sidewalk at 7 a.m. and you come back at 7 p.m. and they're standing right there. They don't even look like they ate. They don't look like they done shit. They're just standing right there and they're silent until you press E. Yes, in real life, until you press E, and they're like, "Hello, John." Like, the first thing you're gonna think of is that dude is weird as fuck. Like, these games gotta make the NPCs feel like they live in the world rather than you're the only person alive in said world, if that makes sense. Like, I know this game is old as shit, like a decade plus, had 17 re-releases, but Skyrim kind of had this, and I guess more? Not really, I don't know. Like, you could follow an NPC around like a weirdo and just look at their day-to-day schedule. You could follow them while they're working at a fucking job, and then at 8 p.m. or whatever it was, they'll go home, go to sleep, and just, it was so cool. I love Skyrim. Step 2, the exploration and side quests just gotta be interesting. Mainly the exploration. Look, I gotta say, exploration is probably one of the most important parts of an open world game. I low-key feel like it's the heart of an open world game. It's kind of what makes the game just fun, you know? Like, it kind of makes it interesting. Like, why would you build this amazing open world that looks beautiful and I can go to a bunch of these different places if it wasn't important, you know what I mean? And that's where kind of side activities or side quests or side missions, whatever, that's where that kind of comes into play, because I feel like they coincide, because I feel like good exploration can lead to good side quests, especially if the side quests are unmarked. Like, I'm fine with it, but I kind of don't like when games have like exclamation points over the quest givers' heads. Like, I would rather we find it naturally slash organically slash we just play the game and we just find it on our own while we're exploring the world, you know? I feel like that just makes the experience feel better. Like, oh, I found this by myself on my own. It's just so cool. But I feel like in order for that to happen, the game world kind of has to have interesting places to explore. So like Skyrim, or actually kind of recently Cyberpunk, like, I'm not gonna lie, even though that game has quest markers or like, you know, exclamation points over the quest givers' heads, it's still like a fun world to explore, unlike Starfield. Like, it kind of sucks because I really don't think it's a bad game. Like, I think Starfield is a good game. It's just Bethesda's strong point, aka their worlds and their exploration, is low key their weakest part of the game, which like it's like wow, like that's what you're good at. And you kind of messed it up. I'm talking specifically for those randomly like generated planets or procedural generated whatever. I'm talking about that exploration. Now, it's supposed to be fun. Like I feel like that's what games are supposed to be. That's what you should strive for. But that is not fun after what, 5 to 10 hours of just randomly going on planets and landing on a random planet. Now, it's kind of weird because they said this Bethesda game has the most handcrafted content, and I believe that's true, but it's like a contrast with like, dude, this game is so big and the handcrafted content is like spaced out between randomly generated fucking planets, and it's like, yeah, it probably does, but in between each handcrafted shit, we're gonna have to go through 7 fucking procedurally generated worlds, and it's gonna fucking muddy the experience. Like, why? Like in the Starfield deep dive, they were talking about how this is another Bethesda game experience, and aka you just wander around and explore. And that's how I usually play. I kind of get distracted from the main quest and I wander around, just randomly go in a direction and explore. But in this game, nah, you just gotta choose a quest and that's how you just play the game. Like you can't just not do quest. Like it's so weird. Like why do they do this? Why Step 3, you gotta try to make it a little bit unique. Like, what makes your open world like different from anybody else's or just the previous game you made? Because if I'm playing the same game from last year, I'm gonna be mad. For example, like Assassin's Creed has parkour and like assassinations, I guess. And what does Assassin's Creed have? Oh yeah, you can climb up shit and synchronize. Did I mention that? I don't think I mentioned that. Or another example, one of my favorites, Shadow of War. Like this game has the Nemesis system. I can die by some random fucking civilian orc, and he'll fucking come up as a captain and just come back and kill me out of nowhere or something. Like that Nemesis system. Oh my god, that Nemesis. Oh my god, that shit is nice. Put it in every game. Put it in the next Star Wars game. Please put it in there. Oh my goodness, that shit is nice. If it wasn't for that Nemesis system though, that game would be another run-of-the-mill open world game. But because it has that, there's no game like it. A lot of games that are kind of the same though are just Ubisoft games. Like you can pick any Ubisoft game, whether it be Assassin's Creed or Far Cry, and pretty much you're gonna get the same experience low key. So it's actually kind of crazy. Like they all have the same fucking checklist of activities and shit. They're not bad, they're just the same. And them being the same kind of makes them boring. Like why would you buy the next Far Cry? Why would you buy Far Cry 6 when you can get Far Cry 5? And why would you get Far Cry 5 when Far Cry 3 was the best, hands down? Same thing with Assassin's Creed. These games don't have anything unique. Like they don't have a lot of things to separate them from the sequel. From the previous game.
Ever get that feeling of deja vu?
So all in all, I feel like open world games, specifically open world RPGs, are probably the games that have the most freedom. And the games with the most freedom really got to have good exploration, because regardless of how good the story is, exploration is definitely the heart of an open world game. Because if the devs don't really put in that much work or pay attention to it and kind of flesh out the details, like it's the main chunk of the game. So if you don't put in that work, what was the point of making an open world game?
You drive like my fucking grandma, do you know that?